Hello and welcome back to another quote spotlight. This is from A Christmas Carol and the quotation is, "Another idol has displaced me, a golden one." So this quote's taken from Stave 2. So it's a moment from Scrooge's past when his selfish greed really causes this breakdown in his relationship. And it's one of the few times where we actually see a real close and personal relationship that Scrooge has had with another human being. So having this breakdown feels all the more depressing. Now, it's worth being aware that Stave 2 is the past, so it's a good opportunity to see the foundation of what's caused this greed and selfishness. So we've had the introduction of the Ghost of Christmas Past. We've seen this lonely childhood that Scrooge had, but then we've also seen a lot of positivity through the party at the Fezziwigs and the fact that there are positive role models in Scrooge's life. So seeing that and then this transition into this sad, miserable existence where he's losing the only woman that we know that he's loved really shows how his life has degraded and decreased over time in terms of its value and in terms of its positivity. So let's look at the quote. So the quote is, "Another idol has displaced me." And then she goes on to clarify that it is a golden one. So talking about this quote, we'll look at a few specific words. Firstly, idol. Now, idol is something to be looked up to, something to be worshipped or admired. So at this point, it is as though Scrooge is worshipping money. His greed is so all-consuming that his love for money has become an obsession. So he worships money over everything else. Nothing else matters in the world. No other human connections matter. Just this idea of money. Idol is a great word to look at just from an analysis perspective, but also a contextual perspective. So idol is a biblical allusion. It's generally a word that's synonymous with God. Now, in the Bible, there are several references to people being punished, in particular the Israelites being punished for worshipping a god that wasn't God and therefore worshipping false idols. So this idea of punishment for going against God is something that comes up a few times. So following their atonement in the Bible, the Israelites were therefore forgiven and they were resurrected. So it could potentially hint at this hope for Scrooge's redemption. He is somebody that isn't completely lost. He isn't somebody that is completely beyond redemption, but we need to see this complete transformation of his attitude towards everything. Now, this biblical allusion exists deliberately because it's there to show the audience the gravity of their greed. It's not just a negative attribute, it's a crime against God. So the Christian audience would be aware of specific references in the Bible, one of them being, "Thou shalt not worship false idols." So Charles Dickens at this point is warning the audience not to replace God with greed. This isn't just a message to Scrooge, this is a message to the audience. And you always need to be conscious of that whenever you're writing about this in your answers. Next, it's worth talking about the word displaced. Now, displaced is significant because it is not replaced. So essentially the difference is that displaced means to be moved from something's rightful position. So from this perspective, Dickens is emphasising that human connection needs to be prioritised and not thrown to the side when you're pursuing wealth. And this is something that unfortunately Belle has to deal with. She essentially is forced to move to the side and watch as this greed, as she calls it, a master passion, begins to grow. So it implies that she isn't replaced, she's pushed to the side, she's watching this greed develop. And this is why she breaks up the relationship, because she doesn't want to stand by and watch him destroy his life any further. She has to step away and go on her own path. So all of this is significant just to understand the difference and to make sure that you're clarifying that in your answers. Finally, you need to talk about the word golden. Now, golden means that something is precious, it means it is valuable. So those are the general connotations, but it's used deliberately by Dickens because it leaves no ambiguity. There is no lack of clarity as to what his obsession is. We know he is consumed by an avaricious obsession with money. So when we are revising this quotation, it is important for us to think about how we're going to weave this into an answer. So what I want you to do is write a quick plan. You need to have this quote in it, but the question is, how does Dickens present greed in A Christmas Carol? So think about how you're going to map out greed, what greed looks like, what the consequences of it are, and what the message is from Charles Dickens. So do that now, please. Thank you very much for taking the time to revise with me, and good luck with your exams.